Check.
Hello.
I want to welcome everybody out tonight to what is a council meeting this Monday, February the 8th, 2016, for the city of Algood. I'll call this meeting to order and ask Ms. Von Larson for a roll call, please.
Honorable Mayor Bilbrey, Honorable Vice Mayor Dyer,
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Norris,
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Green,
Present.
Honorable Councilman Hurd.
Present.
Our invocation and pledge will be led by Mr. Keith Morrison, please.
Go ahead and bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings of life. We thank you for the opportunities you give us each day, Lord. We thank you for this great country you've given us and for the soldiers that stand up each day and fight for us and give us the freedoms that we have, Lord. Pray that you would be with them wherever they may be, keep them safe and protect them and watch over them. Pray your guidance upon this council as we continue to move the city of Algood forward, and pray that we continue to look for you for that guidance. It's in your name we ask these things. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to remind everyone that even though this is a council meeting, it is also part of our council work session where we will be discussing tomorrow night's agenda, of course, for our regularly scheduled meeting, as well as have an open discussion for the upcoming year's budget and even some long-term plans. And I will consider a motion for approval of this agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion, and a second. Ms. Larson, please.
Mayor Bilbrey, Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris,
Yes.
Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
And we will go right into that and our new business portion of this agenda. And that's to review tomorrow night's agenda for for Tuesday, February the 9th. And we each have a copy of that. I had an opportunity to look over it. Keith?
Okay. The minutes of council meeting January 12th are in there for 2016. Does anyone have any comments or questions on those?
That they are in there. I did not look at them very closely, but I will take the time right now. One particular item in last month's council meeting minutes, about mid-page, says the mayor spoke about the agreement and various comments from individuals on an attached sheet that was prepared for him to read. There were a couple items on that particular piece of paper that I'd like to set straight. And one of them being is this, that the vice mayor, being me, said that in regards to a contractual agreement between the city of Algood and between the city manager, Mr. Keith Morrison, that the election needed to go in a way that would be beneficial to the city and to protect Keith. It did not need to go my way as it was presented in last month's meeting. And the so-called termination of the previous city manager never took place, as that was a resignation by that man. So no vote was ever cast for it. So those are two statements that are not so. And I want to set the record straight on that. Other than that, I've got no problem with the last month's minutes. Does anybody else have any comment on them?
I'm good.
Okay. Next item for the approval is to appoint the BZA terms expiring October 2018. Those two positions are still vacant. Item number 3 is the approval of the contractual agreement between the city and the city administrator that was tabled last month. There was a packet put in your box from Fry, Knight, and Murphy. The request of the mayor was to send it to Brett Knight for his review. That full packet has been emailed to you as well as put in your boxes for your review. If you have any questions. Then item number 4 is ordinance 603-15. That's the second final reading of the amending the zoning ordinance regarding membership of the BZA. That item was completely skipped last month. Go ahead.
Along that particular item right there, do you have the notes from our charter concerning the BZA?
I do. I'll have to find them here. Section 205 lists the powers of the council. Be it further enacted that all powers of the city and determination of all matters of policy shall be vested in the council. Without limitation policy of the foregoing, the council shall have power to, and item number 7 is appoint the members of the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals per state law. And then Tennessee Code annotated 13-4-101 addresses planning commissions and provides that this appointment is the responsibility of the mayor.
So everybody heard that. That's in our charter. The council appoints BZA board members, the mayor appoints planning commission.
And Tennessee Code annotated 13-7-205, which is state law A1, provides the following: the chief legislative body may create a board of zoning appeals of 3 or 5 members and may specify the mode of appointment of members of such board and their terms.
Good enough. Thank you.
Keith, could we have a copy of that? So tomorrow night we can have it?
Yes. What do you want a copy
You
of?
got it, don't you?
Just what you read.
Okay. Yeah, I can get you a copy of both of those. Any other questions on that? Dr. Hardy?
Not on that, no.
Okay. Item number 5 is consider approval to declare March 1st, 2016 election date as a holiday for city services. We had discussed this previously when we voted to allow the election commission to move the precinct here to City Hall. The issue would be that there was going to be some conflict if we were trying to run operations downstairs and people coming in to vote. It'd be easier for the election commission to know that everybody's here to vote. If they're not here to vote, they don't need to be in the building, and that would just create less conflict for them to deal with.
Are we looking at them, I'm sorry to interrupt you, are we looking at them just using the downstairs foyer?
They
here, or
actually are going to be up here
up here, okay.
with the election. Of course, there'll be somebody downstairs. They've tested the doors. They had to be a certain drawway to pull. They've tested all the handicap access. They also have looked at the kitchen because the staff needs somewhere that they can sit down and eat lunch, because once they're here, they can't leave. We'll be able to open and close the building as they need it, because the police department, of course, will be here, so getting the building open and getting them access won't be a problem. And I've also got to look at outside where people can set up with signs, because there's a certain distance from the front door you have to be away. Election Commission felt like this was the best move because of parking and access and the handicap access, so this was the best building, one of the better buildings they had for voting with handicap access. that everything met all of the requirements that they needed. They had to come measure the doors and test everything and check the elevator and do all kinds of stuff, and they've already done that. So, there is a possibility that in the future, this may become an early voting location as well. If you ever have to have a second voting location, this may get opened up as another possibility. So,
Well, is there any way we can change the rules on the community center about what we can and can't have there?
I mean, we can review them, I can pull the rules and send you a copy, and I can put it out for your review, and we can do whatever you guys wanna do with it. I'm working on, for next year's budget, getting a quote to reseal and restripe the parking lot, and we're gonna put down new parking stops there, cause some of those are deteriorating and the rebar's showing in. So we're looking at putting those down, plus we're gonna try to remodel the bathrooms before budget year ends if we can get it done. So we're pushing hard to try to do that. The energy upgrade on the heating has been completed, and they are just tickled to death that it's the warmest the building's ever been. The units are working beyond compare to what was there, so it's been an exceptional upgrade for them to have this new heating and
They
cooling.
wanted a fireplace, didn't they?
They already got a fireplace.
Oh, really?
It's a little electric one, but they don't use it. But the two new heating units, they have bragged on those tremendously, so they're more than pleased with that. I
Was there,
think it'll be a good for the use of the building as we move forward.
was there something that had been going on over there?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, I just think we should open it up to more things that can come in to make more money from it.
One of the questions from the senior center director was maybe doing a damage deposit to make sure that they clean it up and that nothing's tore up. The rental fee's $100 right now, and I'll get you all the rules.
Thing like birthday parties and things?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
That'd be
do.
nice.
So you just can't, you're only limited of what you can and can't do in there. And then until the new building gets built, if we decide to do that, that would be the birthday place then. You know.
Farmer's market.
Mhm.
It'll be an open air farmer's market though, unless y'all decided to close it in.
How's that grant coming with farmer's market?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm still waiting on it to come back around. We're looking at a recycling grant to try to get containers to do recycling throughout the city. They think it'll pay for every container for every citizen if we can get it. So we're looking at that. And the way it looks, it wouldn't be any cost to us to get it. So it'd be completely free as long as we initiate the program. So Clean Commission thinks that'll reduce our intake by about 50% if we did it. We were gonna try to do single stream recycling at Brookside just kind of as a test, cause it's kind of defined area. And we're gonna see how it works. And of course, the county's got a new bin ordered, a 3-bin recycle for over there. We're gonna cut a new dumpster for
Right behind my
Yeah.
front back door.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I wasn't staying away from the issue. A little busy when you posted those texts about that. And I've sat and thought about it quite a bit, Richard. There's 3 or 4 things we can do regarding the way that looks over there, and to bring everybody up to speed, what Councilman Hurd said was, at times during the month, or maybe right after the weekend's over, it looks like a trash heap over there. Which, I mean, Victor can attest to that, Keith can attest to that, I think we all can if you drive by there. But, one, we could fence it.
Well, that the only thing that I think a new trash bin, a trash bin and a box bin was the plastics and boxes, right? It's like it seems like every time there's one less bin available to put items,
Right.
and it's usually the big bin, and people just set their trash bags or whatever. It looks like trash to me.
Well, they're just setting trash down there
It
because they
seems
don't wanna
like-
take it nowhere else.
And then on a windy day or a rainy day, or if it's just packed full and the door won't shut, it seems like if we had one more bin on for the boxes and for the other, that would solve the problem. It may get loaded up more, but it's packed in so much and trash gets all over the place. I mean, it just blows everywhere. And it
Oh,
just
yeah.
Could you
really-
not just put a bigger trash can over
Well,
there?
one of the things that we're talking to the county about is doing single stream recycling, which means it doesn't have to be separated. So those dividers could be opened up and the bins could just take the trash and just take it all in. So we're Dr. Hurd's saying aluminum cans, there's hardly ever any in it. So that just sits empty. So that could be taking in the plastic bottles, the paper, and all of it can be mixed together And if we can get this, the county's gonna separate it, and that will make those bins twice as large availability as they are now.
Would that cost us any more?
Not gonna cost us anything.
I mean, we need to do something. I mean, that's the way I do my business. I'll just tell you. Okay, you got big items like $500,000, $1 million street roads. Then you got the little things like the yard in the front, or just a pin scratch on the wall. The little things matter. I mean, that's so important. If you can get detailed on the little things like the trash and the rust at the Head Start Center, that's itty bitty. You know, that the little things reflect the big things. The big things can come later, but you got to be working on the little things as you're working on the big things too, because it
Right.
really, we kind of, and the sign, I mean, I know Lloyd has made a new sign for
Gene Road.
Gene's place across the street, but I've been here for 12 years almost. I'm from Tupelo, Mississippi. I've been to 3 universities. I've been here almost 12 years. And that sign has been there for 12 years, broken, just like that. And the rust has been on the back, and the trash hadn't been there that long, because that bin hadn't been there but, what, 4 or 5 years?
Honey, I assure you, it'll be put up in this week or the next week. I assure you.
I mean, you know, I mean, we could be,
Because
we're a great city, wonderful.
We're working on it.
Cool.
It's in process.
That's right.
It's not that it's been overlooked, we just gotta get it done. The county's ordered the bin, that's what's been the holdup on the bin, has to go through the county, and they've got it ordered, so. And Keith, that is over sanitation's had problems with his son's health, so that's kinda held him back on getting as much done, so.
And again, with those things coming with it, I mean, I'm still open to the idea. I mean, if you wanna stick up a nice white fence like we've got right here around that thing to aesthetically make it look better, I'm not against that either. And I'd even go so far as to put up a camera to take pictures of these
I
people
thought
that are
about,
doing
you know,
this.
I'm gonna put my deer cam up and just to let us know how many patients dump trash in there on a Saturday. I mean, I was gonna do that this weekend. I'll do it this coming weekend.
So,
And we have one where we caught trash dumped on the side of 111, and we were able to find them, make them come pick it up, so we have done that. So,
Well, it's just when it really gets windy.
yeah, it's gotten better, the public works crew is monitoring every day, they know to go by and check it and pick it up every day.
What they really,
Weekends,
that's
it's just
one
hard.
thing that they shouldn't have to do.
Yeah, but you have to do it everywhere. I mean, they shouldn't throw trash out on the side of the road, but they do, and we have to pick it up, so it's just one of those things.
What about the prisoners? Can we get prisoners, let's say up Brotherton Mountain, you know?
That's a possibility.
And I know what Chief can get a hold of some prisoners and have them put to work, instead of our public works being drawn out to do that stuff.
I'd have to go through the county to get that one, get a work crew. I'd have to go through the county, but the chief can check on it and see.
Might as well use them.
Alright. Anything else on that? Okay, there'll be more election days coming up that we'll have to declare. We'll try to get those, I'll try to get those full lists together. I know August 4th and November 8th, I think those are the other 2 dates, so hopefully we can get all that set, and get it fixed. Item number 6, consider approval to declare the John Deere 300D backhoe as surplus. It's the oldest backhoe we've got over there, it's getting down. The new backhoe is due in by the end of February, and so before next month's meeting, I'd like to try to get that thing out of the way if I can get the new backhoe in time. I don't wanna get rid of it till I know I've got the other one here though. But I would like to go ahead and declare it surplus and get ready to move it. It's gonna need tires, and it's getting down to where it's not much use to us, so there wouldn't be any point in us keeping it.
Victor, so that means you'll be keeping the other one as your like salt backhoe and a backup? Starting to nickel and dime you to death? Well, nickel and dime is not the right terminology.
Not on a backhoe.
No, that's a lot of money, not nickels and dimes.
Thousands and 10,000s.
Yeah.
Number 7 is consider approval of sidewalk bids as outlined in the bid form. There's a couple things here. Number 1, if you look at the bid forms for sidewalks, Sergio and Sons created one of these. the typical sidewalk, 4 inches thick per square foot, he did $15. And we were planning on doing 1,700 linear feet. That'd be times 4 foot wide. So that'd be 6,800 square feet at $15 a square foot, just for a typical sidewalk for 1,700 linear feet. On Sergio's bids, you're talking about $102,000. Now, the reason that I had this bid form laid out the way I did, what I'd like to do next year is have them give me a bid form with cost of labor for each of these categories, and then we can do market value on the concrete. And that would allow us throughout the year, as we see areas that need improved, if we've got the money, I've already got the bid approved, all I gotta do is call him and say, hey, go fix this 20-foot section of sidewalk. And we already have a set amount for that year. And the contractors are okay with that. Their only concern was concrete price, so in the bid exception, we do market value for concrete. I think that would cover.
What is that now? Is that $110 or $20 a yard?
$109.75 a cubic yard for 4,000 PSI concrete.
Yeah.
The other bid was affordable driveways and patios, and he did just labor on his bid form. Typical sidewalk, 4-inch thick, $2 per square foot for labor. But he also included an estimate sheet for the total project. And he did 1,700 linear feet with curb and removal. 4 handicap truncated dome sections, 3 loads of 3/4 inch rock, an expansion. And his total bid for that 1,700 linear feet was $43,675. And we got a couple options there. One of them is that sidewalk removal and haul away was $8,500. We could do that in-house and save some money. And the other thing is the concrete curb, I don't think we're necessarily gonna need it. I think we could do the sidewalk just like we did at Washington, and then we pave up against it. The 2 areas I was looking at working on were Wall Street and 2nd Avenue North, where the sidewalks really deteriorated. If we take off the concrete curb, we've already reduced the price by $8,500, which would bring total bid down to $35,175.
What if we do our own demolition in-house?
We do our own demolition, that would bring it down to $26,675.
No problem to handle that? Of course, the areas we're talking about too, probably needs to be stated, we're talking about some pretty old sidewalk that's crumbling anyway, aren't we? So it ought to be fairly easy to remove, or easier, I should say.
Would they be okay, I mean, I'm sure they would, but with us removing it and us not getting the curb? I know they should with the curb, you know, some people say, oh, well, if I am not able to remove it, I'm not able to do the project.
I think he'd be okay with it. Now that's $6,675 over what we had originally put in for sidewalks, which was $20,000. But we're gonna have a little bit of money left over on paving. We're gonna be under on paving. We originally had put in $225,740 for paving, and the paving came in at $168,000. Now granted, there's some other expenses in there that don't show in that number. We've already done some widening. We've already put some sidewalk in at the school. We've had to buy rock for the widening and some of the projects. Riley's Path has already been completed with new drain tile and new drain grates, and so you're looking at about $8,000 there. But even with all that total, you're still under what you've got in the paving amount.
So you think affordable is probably the best way to go?
I think so.
And as far as paying for it, we can take the leftover monies out of our paving projects and transfer them over to the sidewalks to take care of it.
I think so.
Okay.
And that will get you 1,700 linear feet of sidewalk fixed and repaired this year.
That's
Which would
good.
be a pretty good chunk. And
That's
then next
good.
year, I'd like to increase it some more and try to do a little bit more.
I will tell you, I don't have any issue. In fact, I'm tickled that we're still on this process of doing about 4 or 5 streets each year where we're just paving them, but including the sidewalk repairs or replacements I would like to see even more of that as we step forward. And keep in mind, with the new Main Street water line project coming up pretty soon, it wouldn't be a bad idea if we did that section of town the next time, probably.
I'd like to have a sidewalk down beside the tennis court going to the little park over there,
Yeah.
so they've got somewhere to walk out of the grass, and then a safe section off the road there. So I'd like to do that too, once we get that water line in, but I don't wanna put it down and then have to dig it back up either.
Well, that's,
The other thing we're gonna have to do next year is look at paving Main Street. But again, until you get the water line in, you don't wanna pave it and have to turn around and dig it all back up. But there's gonna be some sections up near Walmart where you're gonna have to grind it, get it up, eat it up, and then put it back down, or you're gonna get up too high and too thick if you don't.
In
And
the,
get the ruts out of it.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're
In the paving on this 5-year plan we're trying to get together,
right.
is that something that we can cut those roads down, like in the 5 years? Do like so many roads in 1 year, so many
Well, I
roads in 1
think-
year? Is that how we planned it?
Once we get the paving caught up, I think you could do some sealing, crack sealing, and some sprays and seal them back off and keep them in good shape. If you kinda work on them a little at a time instead of letting them completely deteriorate. You could go back and probably top them and not have as much expense where we're having to put leveler and widen them and do all of this work. Once I get them up to standard, get them wide enough and keep them there, I think our maintenance is gonna keep going down.
or you could turn around, you used the word a couple of different times, we could actually go in and widen some of these streets that are narrow, that need it. I mean, they really
Doesn't
need it.
need it.
You know, because if you look, other than Main Street and about 4 or 5 of the other arteries that come off of it, most of the streets in this city are fairly narrow.
I will be the first to agree with you, Durant is tiny. You
Mhm.
have to pull over in order to make a car
Right.
pass.
So when we're looking forward, I mean, the next 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, if we went back to the ceiling and crack filling and topping and things like that, and we've got money still appropriated, you know, let's start identifying streets that need widening and go do it.
Well, we have these big projects, so we have this
Sure.
one circling the 2 roads that are going to the school, then you got Main, those are huge, those are our biggest ones, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Main Street's gonna be probably about a $300,000 chunk, I would say. And what I think we do there is pay for about half of it out of general fund, and the other half, we've got some street aid money that would, help pay for it.
Is there any grants we could apply for?
Probably not on that, we can try, I just don't think you're gonna get them.
I mean, it'd be nice to widen some roads.
We are widening right now, they started today on Hart.
I mean, I understand what you're saying though, Richard. You know, we need to take care of these big projects we've got on the stove. I'm thinking 2 or 3, 4 years down the road, you know, we can look at those items and issues,
Just-
because they need doing.
Pick up the worst one out and go from there.
Right.
Well-
That's what, we've categorized the list,
One a
and
year.
Victor had it of all the streets that were in the worst shape paving wise, and we've pretty much finished the initial list. Now we're kinda going into a secondary phase and going back and reevaluating and picking up the streets that still need work, and then we just keep revamping that list each year until we get them up to grade and keep them up.
Did we get, water to everybody?
Where at?
What was that one woman's name?
That's out, Spring Creek, and, they'd already looked at that line.
Is that something that we could put in the 5-year budget, or 5-year plan?
That project, Haley did a study on that, and to do that, there's only like 6 houses out there, and it was like a $2 million job. And to bring that out and to pay for it, it's gonna be like $10,000–15,000 a tap.
How are they off well water or what?
They're on well, yeah.
Are they the only section in Algood?
There's another water district there
It's not even Algood.
that can do it.
That's not Algood?
No,
Does everybody in Algood have water?
everybody that I know,
Is that West Overton?
yes.
Okay,
It's right on the border of West Overton.
Closer to the area we do.
okay.
But the Haley did do a study on that, and it was going around about $2 million because it's all rock.
And those 6 houses aren't gonna pay for a $2 million line upgrade. It's just too much money.
No, we don't have any orange water, do we?
on weekends.
Well, you know, I hadn't seen orange water in a while now, but you know where they found, what is it, lead in that orange water in that city?
In
Oh,
Flint.
Yeah, we
Flint.
don't have lead. Our test results are coming back excellent.
You know
If
what?
you know, let's use a little common
I'm gonna pull out that
sense.
bottle I saved, it's orange, it's got all this stuff floating around in it.
Would you put that up to your mouth and drink it? I mean, come on.
Well, and the other thing, this Main Street water line, once it goes in and it's keeping the flow.
I hadn't seen any orange water in about a year now.
Well, I tell you what, Victor done, he put in an automatic flusher right out here, keeps the water moving in the line, and it's kept it from being so bad.
It flushes every Friday night.
I used to take a shower and come out kinda orange, and I have to go like this just to get the,
Self-tanning, doctor.
yeah.
Instant bronzer.
On the sidewalk, I emailed you all the bids packet. It had the sidewalk detail and the breakdown of each section that I gave to the bidders. If you all want a copy of that, I can give it to you, but I did email that to you as well. On the paving, the bid tabulations came in. The streets that we were paving were Riley's Path, Main Street to the four-way stop. That's 930 linear feet, 18 foot wide, including striping. Harp Avenue widens to 16 to 17 feet. Williams Square widened to 17 feet. Cedar Avenue straightened it in to match the rest of the street, width at 17 foot, with end past Harp going to 15 feet. West Wall Street cap and stripe from Weston Drive to 2nd Avenue South. And East Washington Street, there's a small section over there, the sewer line's sinking pretty bad, so we're gonna cap and level between there, which is a minimal cost. Total bid price from DRP was $168,800. Total bid price from Rogers Group, formerly Highways Incorporated, was $184,000. With those numbers, I think DRP is obviously the low bidder, and we can definitely afford to go ahead and pave all of these sections. Any questions on those?
Well, there's not a one on there that doesn't need it, by all means.
Now, Riley's Path, we've already completed the ditch work and it is ready for paving. Harp Avenue's in process right now in Cedar. West Wall Street won't need anything, it's ready to go. Williams Square, the engineer is laying out a design for storm drains to go around that and get that water from going between the two sections of Williams Square, away from those houses, and feed it back into the ditch line.
Is that the one that you were talking about
Yeah.
with Matthew?
Yep.
About
And
getting it rerouted around through
We're
there?
gonna route it away from those homes, around to the ditch, and keep it in storm tile all the way around, and once that's done, Williams Square will be ready for paving.
How does that redirection of that pipe, how does that fit in with what TDEC's allowing us to do?
TDEC said that would be more than fine. What this is gonna do is alleviate the flooding and the wet yards and the homes between the two sections of streets. Your biggest two are gonna be, Teresa
Yes.
and Mike there, where they're getting all the water in the homes and the
Is
backyard.
that the Waller residence
Wallers.
and the Johnsons?
And then also, the lady in the middle, I can't think of her name. It's Ruby's sister. She gets a lot of water there across her property. And so that'll stop all of that water from flowing down through there and redirect it into tile away from everybody. So hopefully that will alleviate a lot of issues. And so, all right. Next, number 9 is the Mirandy Road tank rehab. We've got a problem here. The preferred sandblasting was originally the apparent low bidder. After further tabulation and putting the numbers together, they made multiple errors in their bid packet. For instance, in wording and numbers, they didn't have a match. They might have $1,700 for one item, but they wrote it down as $17,000 in wording, which put
That's-
their bid tabulation way over the highest bid. And so with all of the errors, it basically puts them out of the bidding. And so you'll notice on the sheet I gave you just a minute ago did I give you all this sheet from James Haley?
No, sir.
No? Okay, that's why you don't have it. Just pass those down, there's 2 sheets to it. This is the official bid tabulation from the engineer with all of the specs laid out. With that in mind, the apparent new low bidder is W&O Construction at $96,400. And then let me explain what we did here. There's an alternate schedule item 2 there with a different price, and then it says total bid with alternate item 2. The total base bid, $96,400, is a total repaint and strip of the inside and the outside of the tank, which will make the tank good for about 20 to 30 years before it needs any more paint work. The total bid with alternate item 2 for W&O says $87,900. What that is a total strip and repaint inside. But then on the outside, all they were going to do is just clean it, pressure wash it, and paint it over what was already on there. The problem with that is that's only going to get us 10 years on the outside of the tank. We'll still get 20 to 30 out of the inside, but in 10 years, you're going to have to go back and rebid the exterior of the tank and strip it and paint it, and you're looking at probably $40,000 to do that in 10 years. So for $96,400, you get the full 20 to 30 years on the inside and the outside of the tank. The $87,900, you get 20 to 30 years inside, but in about 10 years, you're going to have to paint the outside again.
Why, I'd always assumed that it was, is it iron? Is that why it has to be painted? What's his tank? Steel? It doesn't rust though.
Yes. It's, the tanks have epoxy on the inside.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you, what's on the inside?
As it gets older, I don't know, it's some kind of chemical reaction, it starts popping on the inside. The epoxy comes loose from the metal, water kind of gets in behind that and starts rusting and pitting. And then what they do is they come here and sandblast that off, and if there's a bad pit there, they'll weld that pit up, smooth it back off, and then re-primer it and paint it.
Yeah, I know stainless steel is what is, it's a better steel,
Yeah,
but
you
couldn't afford to build a tank. Okay.
The other issue too is, when we get our water surveys and evaluations, they go out and check the tank to make sure we're maintaining it, keeping it up, preventing the flint issue. And so, this is maintenance that has to be done on it, every 20 to 30 years. The other tank was just done a few years ago, right? So that'll get us good for another 27 years before we have to touch another tank.
So they get inside the tank and strip
go in
all
it.
the poly off and,
Yeah, they go inside. and
Completely
sandblast
sandblast it, smooth it, re-weld it, get all the pits, reseal the whole tank, and then repaint it inside and out with that epoxy paint that's required, and get it back in good shape. Now, the other two items on here, there's an add alternate number 1 and an add alternate number 2. Both of these would add to the $96,400. What those are is a telemetry system on both tanks, and each one separate, Mirandy Road tank and Buck Mountain tank. And then what they would do, the Mirandy Road tank is having issues.
Yes.
We're gonna have to have a new microcontroller. What the tanks do is the level comes down, the controller tells the pump, tank needs water, pumps kick on, pump it back up, and then it turns off. The controller is acting up, it's not working right all the time, so this would give controls to the pump to tell it when to run to fill the tank up and when to cut it off. But this telemetry system would also include a notifier that would notify Victor if the tanks got too high and the pumps didn't shut off, or if they were getting too low and the pumps didn't come on. So he'd get a notification that something was wrong, plus he can monitor their tanks 24/7 through a wireless device. Each of those tanks with controller, 5 years of service on the telemetry system is $16,700. Mirandy Road, you think needs to be done pretty quick?
Yeah, we're sitting on blood right now.
And Buck Mountain, you think we could hold off maybe? One option here is to do one of these and then put the other one off and tack it on to the water line project.
now I kinda understand, I just wanna clarify that this is telemetry system, is that correct?
It's a telemetry and a pump controller. So
In-
what it-
in one versus
It's-
just a pump control?
It's all together.
How many, and we have issues with people getting water or things, how often do we have issues with these tanks?
About 8 or 9 times out of the year.
So that's,
They start calling me,
Remember last night?
People call,
Yeah.
people call, and that's how you find out.
Brotherton Mountain especially, when they're up there, they'll, right before you get to the top of the hill, there's some people that, first one's out of the water, then people out off of,
So we wait on a phone call to be alerted that we are getting
well, now.
water issues,
Let me tell you,
basically.
we check that pump station every day.
But we have,
On the weekend, when there's nobody up there. And, you know, the water, the tank will go empty within 8 hours. Them pumps up there, they run, it's on a 75,000 gallon tank, and the pumps run 12 hours out of the day. And if something happens and they go down, they don't have the water.
we can catch it before the people call us. We need to catch it before the people call us.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would prevent us from having those outages.
It would send me a signal. It would send, if the pump station, pumps kicked off and didn't kick on, and it would get down just a certain amount of footage, it would call me and tell me before the people would even consider having trouble.
And then we gotta call and explain to 10 people, 10 families that
No,
why they
you're
don't have
talking-
water.
You're talking about 1,000 families.
Yeah.
Well, in doing this, Keith, what does this add to the bottom line on that,
The Mirandy Road tank repair, we had in the budget $112,837.
and the base bid is 96.4.
96.4, and if you do one of the controllers right now, you're at $113,100. So that puts you about 300 over what we'd originally budgeted for the Mirandy Road tank repair.
Okay.
After the 5 years, like, it's Wi-Fi. I mean, I'm curious what their charges after 5 years.
You'll pay, it's a monthly monitoring fee.
$20,
Yeah,
100?
Yeah, it's high tide, and I've got 6 pumping stations, sewer pumping stations, the biggest ones I got, that, if there's a problem, it sends me a signal.
That's the same thing as what we're doing
Exactly
here.
the same thing.
Have we had them 5 years, or are we paying monthly yet?
We're getting on to the 5-year mark on them right there.
So about,
They're about 4, aren't they, Victor?
But, when they explained it to me that at the end of the 5 years, that you can renew the contract or you can get another service to do. But, it's not gonna be no more really, they said it wouldn't be that much more, if anything, than what they kicked off first. But it's just,
I mean, if it's $100, like for the sewer areas, if there's $100, if it's $100 per tank, then $100 there, that's $700, $800 a month.
right.
So I'm just curious. So, I mean, we need it, but I'm curious to see what that,
We can
maybe
call
we
tomorrow and get
could
a
do it.
monthly.
Maybe
We get a
extend that
monthly
5-year
monitoring
to a 10-year.
After
Say,
that
we'll do it
initial
if you give us a
contract breaks
10-year,
down,
because it doesn't cost them anything.
What would be the monthly monitoring fee?
Well,
Right.
probably what you could do is at the end of 5 years is renew them all for another 5. Just do
But
a
you can
total.
do it monthly.
Yeah.
But when they did the sewer rehab out of
Lindenwood?
Bear Creek,
Bear
Yeah.
Creek.
They put it in the project. Instead of saying, we'll do it for 12 months, let's just do a 5-year program.
Why don't we say give us 10, we'll do it if you give us 10 years. We'll do these two if you give us 10 years. 10 years, or a little,
It's
harder.
One at 5 years is gonna put you a little bit over what we budgeted, so I can call and get you the numbers and let you know.
Well, tell them not to charge us any higher. Tell them we want it for 10 years
It
at
doesn't
that
work like
cost.
that.
Well, you could go,
They might
You
do it
could
a
look
little
at
bit
one
better.
or
Look,
two,
you'd be
or 5 or 10,
you'd be
you can look at
amazed what
any.
you can get out of people
Well,
if you really talk to them enough.
16.7, the majority of that is the actual controller, not the telemetry monitoring. The majority of that price is the controller. Sewer telemetry isn't that expensive because it doesn't control the pumps. This system actually controls the pumps. It's got a communicator at the tank and it's got a communicator at the pumps. And they signal each other constantly saying, oh, the water's down here, turn on. The water's up here, turn off. And it does that continuously. Plus it's sending the signal back to Victor to say, hey, pumps are running, water level's here. Pumps are off, water level's here.
It probably helps to keep the water circulated out of the tank too, does it not? Refreshing itself?
That water in Mirandy turns over about every 2 or 3 days, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I can turn Marine Road off and have 3 days of good water out there. But then, after that, you better start looking to do something.
Right.
But now, like I said, the program that runs Marine Road right now,
basically fries the microcontroller. It's a box that runs it.
But they want you to have a contract with them. It's like, $4,000 a year, just to have a contract with them. So if it tears up, they'll fix it for just the parts.
Right.
So if you're not on contract, they'll want you to put a contract on it, then you'll pay the $4,000.
Can we surge protect it somehow?
But if you put it on, if you do the contract, like 5-year thing.
They'll still
like
come
that,
and fix it.
It would be protected for a good 5 years.
Would a surge protector help it? I mean, we need to,
I've
we,
got surge-
that's not, we need it,
I've got
but,
Believe me,
yes, sir.
believe me, I've got surge protection on every pump station I've got, and it still gets tickled. Lightning is just something you can't.
Well, one of the problems with these too is the
You're talking about metal
microcontroller
and water.
has an antenna to signal, not just electricity coming in, it's got an antenna to signal. So even grounding it, sometimes you can't get enough.
Plus, they have battery backup, and if the power goes out in that area, it sends me a signal, hey, you don't have no power over there.
So as it stands now, if we were to accept that low bid of 96.4, we could attach at least one telemetry unit onto it.
And that's
Until-
W&O.
Huh?
That's W&O.
Yeah,
Right.
until maybe even budget year
Yeah,
or like Keith said, maybe attaching it onto this
Well,
Main Street water line project.
exactly, we can do that, because Burlington, it's not as expensive to get a part for that, so, it's not much there, but Randy Road is kind of more high-tech.
Something I've never asked and just don't know, so I'll ask now. Is there a difference in size of those tanks, Mirandy Road as opposed to Brotherton?
Yeah, Randy Road is 300,000 gallons,
And Brotherton is?
75,000.
Okay. Thank you.
A lot smaller tank.
Didn't know.
Brotherton flips over about twice a day.
What do you mean flip over? Water spews out of it? I've
No.
seen water, I've been up there,
I've seen it too.
water's come down like a shower.
Right, all right. Now, if you had the telemetry system on there, that would never happen, because it would be way before it even thought about happening.
What
How-
that is
What is it
when,
doing, filling up?
what happened, that was when Victor was gone and I was running it and the communicator went out. So we were manually operating it. So I would go over in the afternoon before we left and turn it on and let it run and fill up that evening and try to get everybody water through shower time. And then at 8:30, send a crew out to turn the pumps off because we were having to manually operate them. So what was happening was it was filling up, getting to the top, and we wasn't shutting it off quick enough and it was flowing out. So, but in the evenings, high demand, so, when you shut it off at 8:30, first thing you gotta do at 7 o'clock is run over there and turn it back on, so everybody taking their morning showers got water. Or they call, want to know where the water's at.
Wow.
Oh, they get ill.
Yeah.
Seriously.
They don't like missing their morning shower.
Or supper water. They don't like that water.
But that was where we were on manual operator, because we had done
No hoochie
everything we
bags.
could try to do and couldn't get the communicator to work, so we just had to turn it on and off all day long.
Yeah, that's too much to worry.
It was a lot of work.
Mhm.
It was a constant battle every day. Why Victor Jones doesn't take 3-week vacations anymore.
That's right.
All right, that concludes the agenda. So long-term budgeting, 15-16 fiscal numbers. We talked about sidewalks and paving. Of course, the paving's way under budget. So we're gonna be okay. Going a little over on sidewalks. But talked about the tank repair and where we're at there. We had the backhoe that we purchased, which we're gonna offset some of that cost with a patch trailer. And of course, the mini excavator that we were gonna buy out of water sewer. We were gonna try to get a trailer this year, but if we can work it out, we may still try to do it to haul the backhoe on. But I do think we're gonna need a trailer by next year, because the less I can put that backhoe on the pavement, the better off we're gonna be, especially on these
Absolutely.
long hauls.
Absolutely.
Like up the mountain to the lane and places like that where backhoes having to drive quite a few miles to get there. Some things I put in the 16-17 budget and you all wanted to discuss on the night and look at some of the things I'd set off long-term. Paving for next year, I think if we do Main Street after the water line and we take about 150,000 out of the general fund, maybe do 150,000 out of the state street aid account that we've got built up pretty strong. That would help ease the cost there, and try to push sidewalks maybe to 40,000, maybe even 50,000, and try to get quite a few sidewalks put in. 1,700 linear feet at 26,000, 40,000 would allow us to do several more streets, or sidewalks, sorry. Commercial garbage truck, snowplow. Victor, you wanna touch base on those?
Well, we're working on our snowplow as we speak. We're ready to go and everything, but the rust has got it pretty, eating on it pretty good. We need to start looking right now, the time to start, we need to start thinking. And on our commercial truck, it's showing 80 back. It's showing real bad rust. It's,
What year is that?
14 years old.
It's what?
I think 14 years old,
Which one?
the commercial.
It's at least,
It's at least 12, isn't
I
it?
think it's an 03, 13 years.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm thinking, yeah.
Now, this commercial garbage truck on here, 330,000. This isn't just a regular commercial garbage truck. This is a commercial garbage truck with an automated loader for residential cans. So
Right.
you could do both.
Right.
And that would allow us to sell the backup residential. And also the commercial truck we could sell. Somebody's gonna buy it because it's got, if nothing else, that somebody's gonna keep it and keep repairing it because they'd rather put money into repairs than pay for a new truck.
It's got a good engine and a good transmission in it, but, the chassis,
Right,
the body
right.
is worn out. It's got a Caterpillar engine in it, Allison transmission, and, they're good for a long time. But, the motors are just outlasting the frames
Excuse me.
for what we use it for.
So what we could do with this truck, you could, and right now, if he's running residential and you get a commercial call, you've got a separate truck. Doesn't have any trash in it, so you'd have to dump it or leave it sitting with trash for one night. With this truck, you can do your residential. It's got what they call a Corrado can that sits on the front. It's got some hydraulics that sits on the commercial forks, and it's got the automated arm out on this can. So what it does is the driver is looking into this can the whole time. Arm runs out, picks up the can, dumps it in front of him, and after about 4, 5, 6 of the residential cans, then he lifts it up just like a normal commercial dumpster, dumps it, packs it, brings it back down, and goes back to doing residential. If in the middle of the residential route he gets a call, he can go sit the Corrado can down, go out and unhook a couple hydraulic lines, back out of it, pick up the commercial can, dump it, go back into the Corrado can, hook the hydraulics back up, and take off again. And the whole time, he's not looking back over his shoulder watching the arm. He's looking in front of him, watching the residential can pick up. And the pickup time on the Corrado can is about 5 seconds per can. And then about every 5 to 6 cans, he has to stop and take a 10-second dump cycle. And he can haul twice as much trash. So where the residential truck now will run half a day and have to go dump at the transfer station, this truck will run all day and then go dump. Plus, if you had to have the other one as a backup, you're still at the automated and you have no manpower out on the back of a truck. Right now, if the automated truck's down, or if I have to have a second truck, Victor's gotta put 2 guys on the back of the truck out there rolling the cans up to it. Of course, it's got a hydraulic lift because they can't lift a 96-gallon can, but you still got 2 people at the back of the truck. And so what we've been doing when the backup truck goes out, if I have to do it or if one of Victor has to do it, we go out and get behind them with flashing lights so nobody runs over them, like the Livingston incident. So this truck would replace the commercial truck, plus it would give us that additional coverage for the residential route and just make it a whole lot easier to do things.
Well, that's the reason we started
it's-
this whenever we did, was for the safety of everybody concerned.
And
If
you're
we,
only talking about a $40,000 difference to upgrade to the Corrado can.
if we sell the one we have, how much would you get out of it?
The backup truck, what do you think, 10,000?
Yeah.
Commercial? And then the residential backup, you might get,
Thirty out of there. It's a good
I was gonna say
area.
at least 20. And
So you're looking at around 40,000.
Yeah, I think we could pull 40,000, close to it, out of those two old trucks.
Even if you pull 30, you're still,
When you start your recycle, if the recycle system goes like you want it, you'll have that one truck. While he's out there on his other route, he can have a day to pick up, just
recycling.
recycle. The truck will already be clean, be ready to go make it dump, go to landfill, transfer. But now, if you do that, if you do recycles, you're gonna have to clean the truck up a little bit
Right.
before it goes. Which is, the trucks are, cleaned a lot, but they get pretty rough,
Oh, yeah.
especially in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
The recycle grant we're looking at, we're gonna try an implementation of about 92 homes, see how it works, try to get things worked out with the county, make sure they're gonna handle single stream and to what capacity. And then if it works out and we could go full recycle throughout the county, you've got one 96-gallon trash bin that's regular trash, one 96-gallon that's recycle. And then we're hoping that would reduce our take to the landfill by 50%. And there's not any charge for recycled materials going to the transfer station.
If we did that, Keith, if we went citywide on the recycling.
That would
could we do
reduce-
away with this?
Well, I don't know if you could do away with it, but it would reduce the need for it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have near as many people taking stuff over there if they could do it at home.
But it would also, to satisfy whomever it needs to satisfy, it would save us quite a bit of money as far as poundage going to the transfer station. Yeah.
What about if we did some kind of contract like, I don't know exactly, I know that R-Cube does it.
Gonna
They do
cost you as
individual.
much as hauling it to the transfer station.
Even if we just set out little bins that are resident and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
If you pay for it, you're not gonna save anything. You're gonna change from paying the transfer station to paying him, probably more than the transfer station. That's why we're looking at this single stream partnership with the county. If we could get that working, we could do the pickup and not have to pay the dumping fee, and plus not have to pay him to pick it up. And one truck automated would do it, and you wouldn't have anybody out still. And I don't know that you'd have to pick up regular trash every week. You might could alternate and do recycles one week and regular trash another week. And once you got it going and could see how the cans were filling up, I think you're gonna see it cut off a whole big expense.
One other place that'd probably make a big difference too is apartment complexes.
And we're looking at that as well.
Having their own little unit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
an
because,
apartment has
I mean, you
two
talk
dumpsters.
about 200 dwelling units, that's 200 families right there. That's a lot of garbage or a lot of recycling. Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Even if it's glass or,
Plastic?
or metal, you just steal plastic and, paper, which take 50% out of your trash can.
Yeah,
They're talking single stream doing it all too.
right, doing it
so-
all together and letting them separate at the transfer station. You was talking about glass. It's kinda humorous, but it's not, but I'm like Richard, I've been over here recycling stuff, and of course you don't take glass, but it makes me think of those old westerns where they throw up the bottles and they're shooting at them, well, you could line up enough there to unload a pistol pretty quick.
Well, and we have a sign over that says, no glass.
Right.
accepted. But they'll still bring their bottles and set them out.
Right.
We need to, before we close, adjourn, we need to talk about this contract real quick. So I can have I mean, this is a big deal. Contract's a big deal.
It's not really a contract, it's an agreement.
All right,
Little difference in the two.
okay. What's this? I haven't looked at it.
That's something the mayor requested. I sent the agreement to Brett Knight at Fry and Fry, at the mayor's request, and Brett Knight brought that package back.
All right, let's go through it real quick so we all have an understanding.
Okay.
I just have a few questions because I've had people come to, like, assistants and office managers come to me with contracts. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna do it. And I'm just leery of contracts. And I mean, I don't want you leaving, period. But we need to safeguard ourselves. If you leave, what do we get if you leave us?
Well, this isn't a
Yeah.
sports contract, so you're not paying me money up front, so I'm not gonna pay you if I leave. It's just not,
Well, no,
if you're
I'm
gonna
not
pay me
asking
$2
that.
million to stay
No,
here.
I don't
and
want you to leave.
I leave
I
early
mean,
and
I think you're
pay
doing an
$1.4
excellent
back.
job, but I think we just need, at least
Well,
need to look at it.
Some of
Where'd you get
the,
those
some of the
figures?
agreements that were in that packet from Fry and Fry, like Cookville's, is real short and simple, and I'm okay with that, if y'all wanna do it. And just let me clarify, I didn't ask for this. I didn't say, hey, I've gotta have this. It was offered, and,
It was.
you know, I appreciate it. But, you know, and I think all
The
the employees.
The Cookville's, what's your position? City administrator. He has one.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's got, I know, I think I read that one, it's got like well, the first one, a few questions, very simple. It says, now therefore, for and in consideration of the mutual promises and the benefits to derive therefrom, the city and the city administrator agree as follows. Term, the employment of the city administrator will continue indefinitely until terminated by either the city or the city administrator. So that means you as a city administrator can, you know, terminate yourself, right?
Well,
Is that
no,
what that's
I
saying?
can't terminate myself.
He
What
can
does it say?
approach us and say, hey, I'm going somewhere else.
Okay.
If I do that, according to this agreement, I have to give you 30 days' notice. I can't just walk out and say, hey, I'm done, or in 2 weeks, I'm leaving.
So if you leave, okay, so if you leave, like, right, I know the city of Cookville has a 6-month annual base salary, right?
A 6-month severance package, yes.
Okay, and this is a 12-month severance package, right?
Right.
Okay.
We can change it to 6 months if that's what you all wish to do.
I just wanna bring it, now, if you leave us, do you still get that severance package?
No.
By your
Severance
choice?
is only if I am terminated by the council,
Only-
without
That is
cause.
if we
Without cause.
Without cause.
Without cause. What does
but
that
if he
mean?
does something
Dr.
wrong,
Willett.
we don't have to pay it. Right?
Correct. If I may, the
Commit
term
a
clause
felony
here,
or a crime or gross misconduct or
if there's a reason you all
a
got
few
to
other
make him
things
go,
that are.
then he's not getting the severance package. If you all vote him out without good reason, then he gets the severance package. If he resigns on his own, he does not. The term clause here doesn't change anything that currently stands. It doesn't add anything or subtract anything. You all can always vote him out, and he can always resign. It's not indefinite because he can always be voted out, and it states as much. And that's kind of going back to what the mayor was harping on a month ago. It's not indefinite at all. It's no more indefinite if this were to go into effect than it is indefinite now. So,
What's the agreement? It says, under compensation, this agreement will be deemed to have been amended automatically so as to reflect any salary adjustments that are made. So, so let's say, 5A will be adjusted, let's say if Keith's been here 20 years and he's getting $90,000 a year, that's what that's saying,
That's what
right?
it means, yeah.
Okay.
They don't have to go back to the agreement every year when you all adjust the budget. If you give us a 1.5% raise, it's automatically included in the agreement.
Okay, and then going over termination 12, it's D. If the city administrator tenders his written resignation within 10 days after at least 3 members of the board vote or request his resignation at a duly authorized public meeting, then a termination shall occur at the time the resignation is submitted. So that would be the termination occurs 10 days,
That's a
basically.
forced
after.
resignation by the council. That's council coming in and saying, we want your resignation now. Basically a termination.
You mean, we can just
Well, you
hold
could
a
ask me to
meeting and just
resign,
say, is that what that's saying?
Yeah, you're forcing a resignation.
Indemnification. What is that?
indemnification is protecting someone else.
Oh, that's right. So we got that in there. So what, let's say if you get in trouble or something happens versus the issues, let's say we had a few issues way back when in the past and the city took care of the bill, that means this allows you no argument or no discourse, and this says straight up, we
Just says
protect
if-
you.
Once I'm gone too, if you all have an issue that comes up legally that happened while I was here, that I'll go back to court for you and you'll just cover whatever my fees are if I have to go. Like if I go sit over there for a day, you're gonna pay me a day's worth of salary to go sit for your court defense or whatever it is.
If he gets sued for doing his job here, we're not gonna leave him out on his own to pay his own attorney's fees.
He was covered by the city when it happened.
But we don't leave anybody else out on it.
No,
Well,
we
we left one person out on her own.
No,
Carrie?
no,
No.
we paid for that.
Substantially, this changes nothing. It just adds some protection for both sides, codifies a lot of the understandings and agreements that are in there now. And as you can see, I don't know if I want to say the majority of surrounding municipalities, but a very good number of them do the same thing.
What's this, 18, other terms and conditions? Upon agreement of the city and the city administrator, the city may from time to time establish such other terms and conditions of employment of the city administrator?
Just like any other employment contract, it can be modified.
Employment contract? So this is not a contract,
No, that's an agreement.
Well,
an agreement.
Just says if later on it needs to be modified, that we can sit down and modify it in whatever way we need to.
How do we do that?
If you wanna change severance or change allocations or take away cell phone.
Well,
or-
once it's done, it's done.
Well, it says here you can modify it if you need to down the road.
But how you gonna modify it when I wouldn't, if I had this fixed for me, I sure wouldn't wanna
Well, it
modify
just
it.
says if we have to sit down and work it out.
I wouldn't work
Well,
nothing
it's just
out
like
in
a-
council. If I was getting this right here, I wouldn't work anything out in council.
There may come a time when you need to though.
Well, and it could be like the budget, if we're running low on money and we need to cut back on people's pay or adjust his, I'm just saying, I'm giving you an example. You know what I mean though, right?
Are you asking for my resignation?
You're funny, you're funny. Sit on down, sit on down.
Well, the other thing this says too is like if later on down the road you all change the charter and you don't have a city administrator anymore, that's the same as a termination, because you're cutting my position out.
Oh, just by wording, changing wording. So if we just change a
If
few
the charter
words.
changes, you may not have a city administrator. You may change the charter and say the mayor takes over that position.
Well, listen, if we have, let's say if we
Okay.
change the charter,
What did you say?
Nothing.
so if
Nothing,
we change
nothing,
one word in the
period.
charter,
That could happen.
you still, let's
I'm
say
sure
you
somebody
change
thought
your
about that
title
at one
to
time.
city overseer in the charter,
Well, that
Then-
wouldn't necessarily constitute a change, but it may have to say something. We have to sit back down and say,
then you would get the severance while
No.
you're working.
no, that's where you'd have to go back and
Make some-
figure it out.
Yeah, a
That's
little
where you'd
more
have to
detailed stuff.
renegotiate if something changed, like the duties, or say you all, I don't know.
I mean, how do you get, I mean, okay, I mean, yeah, all right. That answered my questions.
Well, I'll say this regarding the whole situation. The guy speaking now is the one that actually brought it to Keith's attention and just made mention of it. And it was strictly just to ensure that even with good, bad job, however you want to look at it, depending on what side of the fence you're on, you're still not throwing a man out on the street without just cause, without compensating him. And that was the whole intent of this. There have been some that have tried to turn it around, turn it in a different direction, which is completely false. That is what this was about from the get-go on its face value. And I hope we can get something done on it. I really do, because
I think you do an outstanding job, Keith.
it,
We all do.
it's important. I think it's important to the city. It's not important just to Kirk Dyer. It's important to the city of Algood that we get this done and taken care of, because for the record, there has been nothing but growth for this city since you have been in the position of city administrator, period. And I'd like to see it continue.
I appreciate
And if
that.
it doesn't continue, then you have an avenue to where you can still take care of yourself.
And your family.
And the other thing, it's not just me. I've got a team of employees that help. And
Absolutely.
one of the comments that was made is who else is going to get an agreement. And one of the changes I'd like to work on for the employee handbook is that all of the other employees have some kind of, not an
That's right.
agreement, but a protection that if they're gonna be terminated, it's for due cause and that due process takes place, and that they have an opportunity for a preliminary hearing of such before any termination, that, you know, it has to be proven that they've done this over and over and that they've been sat down in conference and said, you need to fix this, and they haven't addressed it, that they definitely have violated some kind of, employment practice before they're just termed and gotten rid of.
I have been in disagreement of that.
You don't think so?
Not at this point in time.
Why?
Well, because any job, not at this point in time, because
But I'm just saying-
certain things happen that sometimes we don't mean for them to happen, but they do happen, and, a job is a job is a job, if I have employees, and certainly I, take care of them, but, if I have to let them go, I have to let them go, whether cause or just cause. Sometimes financially I have to let them go for some reason. It's something to think about. There should be,
Well,
I
there could
agree,
be
there
some
should be
cases.
some, I would like the fact there would be a little bit of compensation there.
Well, and they should
But
be
but
at a certain term of service too,
I,
not just,
yeah,
after
there
3
should,
years, if you've done a good job.
I'm considerate when it
And,
comes,
but if you commit a felony
budging a
or a
little bit.
crime or something like that, then there is no, you're just done.
You're
you know.
gone.
Right.
It doesn't matter, for anybody.
But, I understand what you're saying. An employee
nobody's committing a crime.
puts in the time and the effort and gets vested, if you will.
Right.
Whether you make it a 3 or a 5-year term or whatever it is, they should have that right to that due process going forward. I understand exactly what you're saying. But anyway, I just want to make that abundantly clear. That is the reason behind this on its face value. I haven't changed its face value, and I'd really, really like to see us as a council get this thing done. Just, not for us alone, but for the city of Algood,
The
period.
employees.
Yes, and employees. So,
Now,
there it is.
on this, some of them's got 6 months, some of them's got a year. Why couldn't we do ours longer?
What was that?
10 years.
No,
Sure.
yeah,
I don't think
there
you
was a
wanna do
clause
10-year.
Let's do it 20 years.
in that,
Well, you can do based on terms of service, like if you,
right.
if you've been here for 3 years, you get 6 months. If you've been here 6 years, you get 12 months. If you've,
That gives an employee something to look forward
and then you
to.
max it out. I mean, you can max it out and say after 10 years, you're gonna get 18 months severance and that's it, So,
I think, I don't, and not that really, I mean, it does matter. I'm sure some people will, if they're aware, which I don't know who is aware of a contract, they may, get upset, and then it all dies down, because everything does. But it may be something, let's say if you're here 5 years, you get the full term. If you're here 2.5 years, you get 6 months. If you're here the next 2 years, you get 3 months, and just work it up to the 5-year thing. That's just an idea.
you can do it
I
that way.
mean-
You
I
can
mean,
say,
I
for
don't,
3
I don't,
years of
you know,
service,
I-
you get 6
I-
months, and in 2 years, you get another
I'm
3
just-
months. I mean, it's.
I'm just throwing a
whatever y'all
balance.
wanna do.
That's just balancing things out. I mean, I'm fine with things, but,
Maybe we can
It-
just have a meeting and work out the wordage on it. I mean, if it comes down to it.
Y'all can do that. I mean,
That's fine.
it's up to you guys.
That's fine. I mean, we've got
I'm
an
okay
outside
with it.
opinion
I'm
now.
okay. I mean, I'm just throwing, things out there that
That there's a couple of issues, but for most cases, it's binding and enforceable on both parties.
Yeah.
I'm,
And the issues weren't with the validity of the contract, the issues went towards things that you all decide, like we're talking about now, what the compensation level is at a certain term, that sort of thing.
Right.
It wasn't towards validity at all. Obviously, municipalities around here have been enforcing these same contracts and applying these same contracts forever. We're just trying to do it here too.
And there's, you notwithstanding sitting here, there's 2 legal opinions that say it's doable.
I reviewed it,
So-
MPS has reviewed it.
There are a lot
Now
of
we have an
cities, I
outside
noticed how
law
many
firm
cities
review
do it? A lot of cities do this particular contract, right? We got, I mean, many. I mean, you're talking,
Florida,
all-
Cookville,
yeah, just all over the place, right?
You got places as far away as up in East Tennessee, Dandridge and places like that. In fact, I think it's even, the
It's
city of
in here.
Dandridge is in there as well. It looks pretty close to what Keith's drawn up, so.
Does it lessen the council's power?
No,
No,
No.
no.
by no means.
It don't have nothing to do with us.
At any time, we can terminate We can terminate his employment at any time.
And all this says is that,
Terminate him for what he did wrong, not because you don't like him.
That's
Correct.
yes, it creates that protection. If you're gonna terminate him, you need a reason to terminate him. If you don't have a good enough reason to terminate him, then you've gotta compensate him for that
Right,
termination.
you pay him the severance package, and that's what it says.
Don't get rid of him because you don't like him.
Well, I mean, going, that, not liking somebody is not really, you know, I think there needs to be leeway. I mean, I think it needs to stop here with the city administrator. I don't think we need to take it any further. That's my opinion. And I'm gonna have to stick hard to that because, and another thing, there's something else that needs to be brought. What if you get another council in here and they decide to take this contract and switch it around? I mean, what's the likelihood of that happening?
They can.
Is that possible?
It'd have to be agreed to both parties if they change it, or they would.
You would have to have 3 people on the council to agree to that, right?
No,
Plus,
you'd have to have my agreement before you could change it.
The council couldn't breach the agreement by themselves. Now, the council can still terminate, that power isn't going anywhere. But to
But to change
renegotiate the
it.
contract, you have to
Because you
have,
may get a council, you know,
negotiation
not that
on
we're
both
gonna,
sides.
but you know, you never know down the line.
Now,
While
if
you're
another
here, we're
council
out.
come in and wanted to change the agreement, they'd have to sit down and it'd have to be mutual with me and the council, or it
Right.
couldn't be changed if
exactly,
I didn't agree to it.
exactly.
At that point, if they didn't get the agreement, then they could terminate me. So,
Okay.
anything else? Let me finish up here on the budget stuff and just tell you some things I threw on this sheet for next year. And you all can think about these and tell me if you wanna do them or not. The dump snowplow is getting near the end of its life cycle. It is eat up with rust. I've got a price quote of $135,000. That's a single axle dump truck. This would have an insert bed instead of the salt being dumped in the actual bed. This would have a slide-in insert with an automatic feeder, an auger that pulls it back, and a drop-down spreader, and hopefully that would keep a lot of the salt off of the inside of the bed and extend the life of the bed. Put a first responder truck on here, is about $30,000. Community center, I put $10,000 on there to try to do some kitchen upgrades and clean up. You all had mentioned entrance signs, so I put $5,000 on there to redo the entrance sign and the beautification. If not on both ends of town, maybe on one end, but I'd like to try to do both ends, but
I
I'll
would
have to get
too.
some numbers and see where we're at, but at least do one end with a nice welcome, City of Algood, home of the Up and Coming Quilt Festival, and whatever else you guys wanna put on it. Patrol cars, we're looking down to 85,000 next year, because you're gonna be able to sell off a couple of cars, and I think that's gonna net us at least 36,000 on the 2 we sell, and I'm hoping for more like 40,000. But I'm being a little bit conservative here, just in case I don't get what I'm thinking, but I think at bare minimum, you're gonna get 18,000 apiece out of them. And as you can see, each year I've decreased the amount going to patrol cars because you're gonna be able to sell more off. The plan is that, not this year, but the next year, to keep one extra charger to have as a backup, and that would complete the full fleet management plan with a backup car. If one of them has to go to Dodge for warranty work, you'd have something still to keep on the road. And then after that, every year you would sell 4 cars off, and I've got people chomping at the bit to buy them. The wrecked car went online today, and within 2 hours, there were already 3 bids placed on it. So I'm assuming that within the end of the 2.5 weeks, that thing's gonna bring about $8,000-9,000 probably.
And that's worth, the engine's worth than that.
And then a water sewer service truck, that's Carl's truck, it's nearing the end of its life. The problem with that truck is Carl carries so much parts and tools and components that 2500 series truck is about overweighted on the utility box. This truck would be a 3500 series with the same utility plus a ladder rack to put a ladder on, and it'd be 4-wheel drive.
Does that need to be a gas or a diesel engine?
This would be diesel.
Diesel,
Yeah.
okay.
This is state bid on a Dodge 3500 chassis, and then Stringfellow quoted the bid. We'd have to go to bid, but I think for less than 55,000, you could get that truck on the road. And that truck would last you for several years.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the one he's driving now bought surplus probably close to 5 years ago?
Yep.
It's been here that long, hasn't it? If I'm not mistaken, that was bought at state surplus used, yeah, through, help me out, I can't remember his name.
Albert Baker.
Albert Baker, thank you.
Yeah, it was a used state truck of some sort.
Right,
One last thing, and I'll turn y'all loose because it's getting late and it's snowing. This was the fire hall scheme that the mayor had created when he was the fire chief, with one addition as the EMS wing that was added to get us a 24-hour ambulance service. That was remodeling the complete inside of the current fire hall, adding an EMS wing, and putting 4 double truck bays out on the end of the building. This one that's got the big looking black blocks on it is my version that I think would cut us a whole lot of money. And I've got one that's got all kinds of notes on it. Basically what I'm doing is taking the old fire hall, keeping 1 bay for our old fire engine and 2 EMS bays. And then what I'm gonna do is take where the current chief's office is, let EMS gut that and turn it into 2 bunks. They'd still have an office, they got 2 bathrooms with a shower, and they've got the kitchen. And then over here, take the first set of bays, which was gonna be EMS trucks anyway, and turn it into a training room with a kitchen, a hallway, and either 2 offices or a storage room or a library. And then you could still add the storage in the wings. And you'd have the upstairs going to the mezzanine for the storage that's already up there. And then eventually, if you wanted to do full-time fire, you could come out the back and add that wing and do bunks and a day space for firefighters if you needed it.
Is this angled like this being the road right now?
Main Street is right
Yeah.
here.
you're actually, if you were looking at the front of the building, that's what it'd look like.
This is Main Street, right?
Right here. like
Main
this right
Street's right here, Doc.
here. Be like this right
If you were standing in the street, you'd be looking at it like that right there.
Oh, okay, but isn't there something right here?
No,
No, that's just a way out to the street.
Hugh Adams car lots are sitting right about here.
They'll come out the back side, right?
Yep,
These-
there'll be a full wraparound driveway going around the back with this parking in the back.
Right, how did you learn how to design that?
I took a base design from the company and then I cut and pasted where I thought things should be. This is gonna have to have some work. This is
That looks pretty good.
very rough engineering.
Well,
But I think you could shave your costs down. The remodel of the inside of the old fire hall was $100,000. And if you cut the EMS wing off, that's another 100,000, so you already took 200,000 off of this. So I'm thinking that this configuration, you could come in the 400,000 or less range.
we've had, as a city, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the 3rd fiscal year we've had money appropriated and set aside in the budget for this?
Third one? Yeah.
This is the 3rd year we've had $550,000 set aside to do this project. And we can get it done for probably $425 tops, and that's just a rough estimate. Save $125,000, but go to, quite possibly, I won't say definite, a full-time ambulance truck, okay, here, instead of just a 12-hour truck. Plus get the room we need added on. I don't think I think it's a no-brainer. I'd love to see this project move forward.
That'd be a great project.
It needs it badly.
Why does Red Bone Springs, how come they get a really nice fire hall and we don't get the funds from the state?
Because of our checkbook.
Yeah.
And I had a $250,000 ARC grant all the way to the final stage, and something happened and it got turned down. So, I mean, I had the grant all the way through the process, did all the paperwork, worked with UCD, I wrote the full project, gathered all the details, worked with EMS, had everything lined out, had the governor's signature, and then at the last step, something happened at ARC and they turned me down. I mean, I had it in the bag. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I have an idea, somebody wrote letters against me. I got one of those.
Once you know, once you can prove it, they're different things.
I can prove one of them.
Real quick,
Cha-ching,
before
cha-ching.
we go anywhere, items number 3 and 4, if those are on the agenda when the meeting starts tomorrow, then absent a successful motion and second and successful vote to table those, I will be calling for a vote on them.
Now do
So we
what
don't have a
again
repeat.
on 3 and 4?
If you approve the agenda with the items on it, they have to have a vote on them.
Now, Now, you all can
And
move to table it, and then if that gets a second, and then a successful vote on that kind of ancillary motion, then we can table the item. Otherwise, there will be a vote, and over anyone's objection, I will be calling for it.
You can't just leave them off and not vote on them. If they're on an approved agenda, they have to be voted on.
Or
And the
he
agenda,
overlooked last month.
the agenda is not official until you all vote to approve it. So if you're gonna amend it, you have to amend it when the calls for an approval of the agenda, once the motion and second's made, it has to be amended right then. And if you have something you wanna debate, you need to stop it. Once the motion's made and the second, it needs to stop before it goes to a vote and debate it right then if there's something in question.
That's at the very beginning.
That's at the beginning. And then anything that's voted on, once it's a motion and a second, if you have questions about it, you can stop the vote and say, I'd like to discuss that item that's on the floor before we take the final vote. And you can take a discussion, and then if you want a motion to change it or amend it, you can do that. And it may or may not pass, but you can make a motion to amend the original motion.
I have one thing. Pastor Mike at Trinity,
4th of July, I forgot about it.
he's approached me wanting to do fireworks up here on the 4th of July, and he needs to know if we are interested in helping him with that. Some of the costs, if that's something that is all right with everybody, we'll get a meeting with Pastor Mike and then have him get in
And that would
touch with
go
his firework
into
people.
next year's budget, so it would start in the July budget, July 1.
And
The
then,
other, oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
That's something totally different.
Service Master contacted me. I used to work there a long time ago. They want to sponsor Coffee with a Cop. I don't know how you do sponsors with that. Service Master beside the crematorium, the
Call on
yellow.
Hub and transport.
Yeah,
We
right
just
in
find
front
a
of it.
location and let them do it.
Her secretary, or their secretary called me. So if you have time, just run over there, or just
One-
give them a call. Chris Langford is the guy that.
One last item before we close that was asked about for the police department was having a safe place for people to come to after hours, once 4 o'clock hits. Either a call box or a phone that they could walk up to here at the PD, and better marking and signing at the PD, because you can't tell where the police department is. But some way that they could walk up here and reach an officer, whether it's a call box like Tex Scott, or a little room that they could walk in and stand at, or a full-blown dispatch. That was one of the things that I was asked to present to you all as we look at next year's budget.
I think that call, the phone, the call box is good.
What kind of ideas do you have along those lines? Have you thought much about it?
I have.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, to leave the building open, you're gonna have a dispatch. I mean, somebody's gonna have to stay here and man the building.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there's no way in the world we could put, you know, I mean, well, there is, I guess, if y'all wanted to build a room out there where they could, a safe place, I guess, but I don't think that's reasonable. But now the call box, Tech does it now.
When somebody calls, picks up the phone and call, does that go to a cell phone?
You go to a dispatch,
To dispatch or the county sheriff's department, they'll dispatch.
but it'd be a direct ring, like it wouldn't have to dial anything. As soon as you pick up the handset, you know,
Like
it
an
would
emergency.
automatically ring to that.
Right.
We used to have them at schools, we call it the bat phone. It's a red phone in an office, and when you walk in there and pick it up, the minute you pick up the phone, it immediately dialed the front office. You didn't touch anything, but now if it comes off the handset, it's dialing. Or if you did a call box where you push a button,
Do something, the call box would be the way to go at this point, I think.
Right.
I don't think it, I mean, I'd love to have a dispatch,
How about a location for that call box if you were thinking about it?
be outside the back door.
probably out the end of that building, closer to the front corner where you could see it, but it's still on the police department end.
Could put it where the jail's at.
If nothing else, you could, yeah, if nothing else, at least you'd have camera coverage on it.
But just keep that in the back of your mind.
On this contract, or whatever you wanna call it, the amount of years that it's gonna be put on there, or is it gonna be months, or a year, or 2 years, or?
Probably months. I mean, I don't see you all paying me for 4 years. I mean, if you want to. I just,
No,
I just don't see you doing.
guarantee that you're here for that long.
You can't really guarantee it, because then you're taking the council's power away to remove me. You can't do it for a specified time. That's why it says indefinite until terminated. That way, any council still has the right to remove me. You
Right.
can't take it away, because that overrides the charter, and you can't override the charter.
Meaning this
charter-
upcoming election, if somebody's elected and they take office in September and there's enough votes to do it and they don't like the job Keith's doing, they have the right as an elected official to terminate him with or without cause. And if it's with cause, he gets no severance. If it's without cause, they pay him 6 months severance.
And you can't take that power away. It's charter defined, and you
Right.
can't override it.
Severance, right? Severance is, now explain severance, that's the benefits of
And it's just
like
pay.
That's just pay.
and all
Well, it's
that
just
stuff.
pay, yeah. Just the pay, just 12 months of pay. There's
12 months of pay.
no health insurance. I'd have to go pay for my own COBRA. Sick time, I haven't been here long enough. I would fall under the normal city handbook policy. It says after so many years, you get a percentage, and if you're not here, you don't get
Well,
any.
you still get your 401k, you get your.
I don't get 401k if I'm not vested.
If you haven't invested.
If I'm not vested with 5 years of service, city gets that money back.
Hey, Kurt, what do you get if you were fired? I don't
Me?
get anything. Yeah,
If I'm fired from my
Yes,
job for just cause,
I don't, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
if-
for not cause.
for no cause,
Yeah.
under the union contract, I get a 6 month severance
All right,
package.
so you're in union, so union power, okay. Good, that's good, that's great.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
Is everything okay with the fireworks? Is that okay with everybody? Because I've got to call Pastor Mike.
good with it. It's fine with me.
I'm gonna call him tomorrow, set up a time to talk to him.
Okay.
And what, did he have any idea on how much it's gonna cost?
He just wanted to get the okay if we were all okay with it.
Take it out of the police overtime budget.
We'll sell a patrol car.
Yeah, taking it out of the policeman's overtime budget.
Well, it was just to get together to have a meeting is what we're gonna do.
You can initiate it and then go from there. We have to present a dollar amount back to include in the budget. We need a motion to adjourn.
We need a motion to adjourn.
You do. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye.